Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this Career Chats for the Technology event as part of our Create Your Career series this evening. And I'm excited to be your host tonight. This is the third and final Careers Chats that we have this week, with business and data occurring on Tuesday night, engineering last night. But let's lock in and get ready to learn about the careers that these degrees can take you with a focus on technology. My name is Sam Southgate. I'm the Scholar and Alumni Engagement Manager. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm also joined by Cheryl, who's the Industry Partnerships Manager for Business and Engineering. We also have some truly amazing panelists that I will introduce soon, and you'll be able to hear their stories and their insights. First of all, we've just got a little bit of housekeeping for tonight. This session, like all of our sessions this week, will be recorded. So if you have any dropouts, you miss anything, don't stress. You're going to be able to go back and rewind and watch those. If you also feel like you might have an inspiration to check out our engineering or our business and data ones as well, then you'll be able to access those recordings, and we will send an email out to everyone who has attended this event and registered for it as well. And there is a Q&A function within this event, and I would love to see your questions coming through as you're listening to our panelists' stories, or even my own and their career journeys and their considerations. So please keep sending them through, and then we will hold the questions to be able to address at the end. I do also maybe just want to call out that this is a career-focused event as such, so if we want to focus our questions around that, I know that there will be a lot of questions around co-op and the application process, but we will have some more exciting events for you to be able to attend similar in this style in August and September there too. But before we continue, I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people, who are the traditional owners and custodians of the land that I'm coming to you from at the UNSW Kensington campus. I acknowledge that the Indigenous peoples of Australia have made and continue to contribute significant amounts to education and technology practices long before any of us were here. Well, really, they were Australia's first innovators, engineers, and technologists. When we say technology in today's day and age, we tend to think of things in a different direction, but for tens of thousands of years, they've developed sophisticated technologies to navigate, manage land and water, communicate across various distances, produce food, build tools, the list goes on, in some of the most challenging environments. So I pay my respects to elders past, present, and extend the respect to any Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people who are joining us here this evening. So, in choosing your career, you probably have many questions. And the first one is, where do I begin? Usually, you're at a point in your life where it's time to start thinking about what you want to do as a career. But taking the first step can be overwhelming, confusing, nerve-wracking, or all of the above, some in between. Well, it's not just you. That was also me when I was in your shoes. You could be asking yourself, what do I study? What do I want to study? What am I good at? How does this translate into a career? How does the career I want translate into a degree? How does this fit into my own expectations or maybe my parents? Like making any decisions or actions, take a deep breath, shake it out, have a boogie if you need to, bust out a ballad, whatever you need to try to not stress. This is a fork in the road or a consideration around careers that everybody has at every step of the way. To start off with, there's three key tips to talk about when thinking about careers. There's plenty more, but we'll focus on these three. The beauty of these tips is that they remain relevant no matter what stage you are in your career journey, whether it's the first time you're thinking about it or the last time that you're thinking about it, or also somewhere in between. First of all, what you want to do is do your research. You want to be a sponge, absorb all the information that's around you. Figure out what's involved in a particular job, degree, or industry. Online research will only take you so far. Talk to people, learn about how they got to where they are, and what skills they think are important to succeed in today's day and age. Ask them lots of questions, like what they wish they knew when they were in your shoes. Wink, wink, this might be a good question for our panelists. When it comes to careers, there is no right or wrong. Developing a career path takes time, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. Probably with a few sprints in between, don't get me wrong. And you don't need to have all of the answers now. Even if you did, they'll probably change in the future as you change, as the climate change, as economics change, as interests change, or maybe things get invented. Just remember to do what's best for you at that point in time. You're not stuck, and you can always pivot and change your mind. Take me, for example. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be the chief economist at the RBA. Started at an economics major and quickly realized I didn't have such a deep passion for it with the theory of land taxes and econometrics. Wasn't really that exciting for me. But for marketing, it was, and so I made the shift in my degree. But since then, I've had roles in sales, admin, as a data analyst, then off into graduate recruitment, and now managing this amazing program where I can say I've truly found the job that I love. But I listened to my interest and consulted others at each pivot point, whether that be mentors, whether that be colleagues, professionals, family members, all of the people that I held important with their perspectives. This means that when you decide on a career destination, there are always multiple ways to get there. There is not just one singular path. When you start hearing people's journeys, there's rarely a completely linear line, just like mine. Think about how to best prepare yourself for the next steps where you're taking, whether that's forwards, sideways, diagonally, or in a curly loop. The momentum is what matters. It doesn't matter if it's a step back or in any other direction. We have some questions here to prompt some thoughts that will help you. Remember, this is personal and it's going to look different for each and every one of you. First up, we've got the category of talents, starting to think about what are some of the things that you're naturally good at or that you've worked really hard to be good at. There may be other talents that you have, but you just don't know yet. Maybe you don't recognize it as a talent. You think that that's the bare minimum and the baseline. But when you start talking to people around you, they're like, no, you're actually really good at this. You should pursue this area. And you just want to be curious and give things a go. You don't know what you don't know yet. Then we come over to the values. What values do you have, and do they align with the values of the work that you'll be doing or the company that you'll be working for? There's multiple layers when it comes to the values. It's always good to do a stock take because these can change over time as you change. I come back to this often because it's such great advice, but from one of our alumnus from the Marketing 89 cohort, Deanne Stewart, who's now the CEO of Aware Super. Choose the company, not the role. And then when we come over to interests, what are you passionate about? Not what your parents, siblings, friends, or anyone else is passionate about, what you're passionate about, because you're in the driver's seat and you want to find what interests you. As probably most of us can say as the panelists on this call, it is a lot of time that you spend at work, and it's really important that you are pursuing something that is quite passionate of yours as well. And if you're not sure, just ask. Ask yourself the things what you're drawn to. What do you naturally make time for? What gives you joy? What gives you a pep in your step? For me, for example, I found that out when I was a payroll analyst or a data analyst that I love data and I love Excel, So that was something that was quite unique to that career opportunity that I thought I was never going to get that exposure to and have that deep passion. So if you're not sure, you got to experiment. Put your hand up. Be curious, try different things, try different opportunities, because crossing something off the list is just as valuable as giving it a tick. What I would challenge with that, if you're crossing it off the list, why are you crossing it off the list? And so that you can find some of those commonalities across those different areas to then create a clearer picture for you to move forward. And then with opportunities, I think this ties in with the interest side of things too. But what influences can you draw upon? Who can you talk to? Get more information. Is there someone within your community, your sporting team, where you volunteer, where you work, your community groups, your family group? Did you meet someone who inspired you, that gave you that inspiration, that light bulb moment? Did you read something that you resonated with? Did you experiment with something? It's all of these type of opportunities that can give you that spark and give you that opportunity to really explore. All of you watching this live or through the recording, you are exploring what opportunities are out there already just by attending this. So that's an excellent first step, and I hope that you continue your journey. So once you've reflected on your talents, values, interests, and opportunities, the next step is to start really testing them. And you're kind of picking up on a common theme here of testing and experimenting. And just explore that curiosity about those different pathways. You don't need to know exactly where you're heading. The goal is to gather information and learn from others' experiences. And that could come through from joining a team, whether that's a sports team or a local group, or volunteering, or volunteering at your community groups or religious groups, building something. Maybe it's building a website or building a video game or building some coding platform or an app, These experiences can help you build the skills, confidence, and stories that you can draw upon later and will make for an excellent co-op application to your answer as well. Employers and programs like the co-op, we value those well-rounded people, which is why it's a good aspect to have that project or that passion piece or that experimental piece that you can draw upon to confirm your aspirations and your passions. Not just strong student, we don't just focus on strong students and generally employers as well, but people who can balance those commitments, work with others, and show that initiative. And getting involved in those different initiatives can really, really help you. So be proactive, seek out opportunities, try new things, and remember that, again, you're in the driver's seat. Put your foot on the accelerator as much or as little as you want, but use your navmen, use your navigators as your trusted stakeholders around you to help navigate the path ahead of you. At the end of the day, this is your journey, and every experience can help you work out what's right for you at that point in time. And keep going through that activity as you progress through your career. So now you're at the step of determining whether you want to study technology. But why at UNSW? We have some pretty amazing achievements under our belts with tangible outcomes for our graduates. So at UNSW, it was ranked #1 university in Australia. So that was only just announced just recently, and we're thrilled to receive that result because I can really see that quality coming through at the end, especially at my time as being a graduate recruiter. And we're also being ranked top 20 worldwide. So #1 in Australia, top 20 worldwide. And we also have Australia's most employable students from the AFR Top 100. That's not only just this year, but that's the last 6 years in a row. So UNSW can clearly have that emphasis on those employability components to make you ready for the workforce afterwards. Co-op does that even more so with accelerating that with the opportunities that you're provided, but UNSW as a whole has a very strong base foundation for that as well. So for tonight, with the technology streams, what areas of study are we talking about in particular? We're going to cover off business information systems, commerce information systems, software engineering, and computer science. And without further ado, we're up to our first panelist, and I'm going to pass over to the wonderful Christine Van Toorn.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you so much, Sam. That's a really lovely introduction. I'm Christine Van Toorn, and I look after the business information systems and the commerce information systems students. I'm an academic in the School of Information Systems, Technology and Management. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. So what is information systems? A lot of people ask this. They're not really sure exactly what it is. And my colleague Dong will talk about the difference between information systems and computer science and software engineering. So information systems looks more at the human side of technology. So we're more at the forefront of trying to make sense of information. So what is this information trying to tell us? Or more to the point, what's this data trying to tell us? So we're trying to make sense of that information, trying to navigate through that plethora of reports, of data that we have, of information, trying to see what's really important here. We use different tools and different technologies, and we'll actually help create those platforms so that people can use those different tools and technologies to try and make sense and glean meaning from the data. So what are some of the skills that or some of the things that we do in this degree? Well, we give you with we equip you with the professional skills so that you can go out into this ever-increasing world that's more technical, ever-changing, dynamic. Everything is being innovated. Everything is being transformed. If we think about digital transformation, that happens to be everywhere. I can't think of an organisation that can manage their business effectively without the use of information systems to some extent. Some of our organisations are highly automated from the beginning to the end. Some of them, most of the automations happen in the middle part where the organisation runs. You might have, customer services, that's people, but they'll still have information systems to help them understand who their customers are, what their customers' needs are, and how we can better service those customers. As a customer, you all also have access to an information systems that's facing or front facing for you so that you can look up some things yourself. So you can, what we call self-serve customer systems. Prior to that, we would have had to go through a customer service agent, but now we're in the control seat. We are able to make our own decisions by looking at the information systems. We can make sense of that information ourselves because we have an information system that helps to make it more digestible for us. Organisations are always looking to automate, to innovate, and to make things to transform the way businesses are done. So we have lots of different organisations that help us in this. Our major sponsors range from, say, consulting organisations, financial services. So consulting, I can think of Carney, that's a CIS sponsor. Financial services, I think of Westpac, who's been a sponsor since the program began. The BIS program began as BIT in 1988. Insurance companies, IAG, ING is also in financial services. Consumer and food brands, we have Arnott's, that's absolutely amazing, and uses information systems across different parts of their organisation. The retail companies, publishing, media, government organisations, DTA, Publishing Media 9. Pharmaceutical company, we have Merck Sharp and Dohme that do amazing things in using information systems to automate their office as well as their factory. And then finally, through to the customer's side. So information systems is everywhere, whether you're going to study BIS or CIS. BIS is a bit more of a technical degree. CIS is a commerce degree with a technical component. UNSW and the Co-op program are the place for you.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Christine. Quite a comprehensive
Okay.
overview. I feel like I certainly learnt a lot in that, which we also do have some amazing panelists from those streams as well, which can talk a bit more
You
to the
have Josh and
difference.
Emma. Yes. Very
Exactly.
lucky.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you so
Sam.
much, Christine. And without further ado, over to you, Dong.
Yeah, I guess my turn. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah,
you great.
so yeah, hello everyone. My name is Dongwen. I'm looking for the computer science. So I'm the coordinator for Co-op Computer Science, and I'm also an academic from UNSW. I'm working on like database research, big data research, and some AI driven data. But Unlucky or the other colleague, which is Flora, is the coordinator for software engineering. She's not here. But by the way, I'm just quickly go through its two stream, computer science and software engineering, which are the two we offered in the general computer science area together with the co-op. So I guess the most common like question we have been asked is what's the difference with computer science and software engineering, because they got a huge overlap, and personally they may looks like very just maybe most of the time they're the same when you graduate want to try find some job, but software engineering basically because it's a majority job, a majority work in this general area. It's about how to develop a software. So this is why we have a software engineering degree. And for this one, the very special from the perspective degree is we have an honor thesis. And also the whole degree is designed, the whole courses are designed to help the scholar to understand the process, to have some idea for the process of the whole software in the engineering system, how to develop software, like some low level, how to retrieve all the data from database and how to get some information, and then how to send the data to the front page to the UI, and how to like do some like front end developing. So that's the stuff about software engineering. And compared with that, computer science is quite fundamental, and in other words, also quite flexible. The very special thing, if you have looked at the handbook for the degree part, the computer science offer a lot of majors. In fact, you can choose different direction for your future career. For example, you can like pick some general computer science area. You can also pick like AI or database like me, or some other like cybersecurity as your major. So they all have a different design of course pathway. So basically, you're going to learn a set of fundamental things and all very necessary things for the computer science, how to do the programming, how to do the analyze. But I guess this one probably very close to some very hot topic like AI, like generative stuffs. Yeah. Next page. Thanks. Yeah, we have several wonderful and amazing supporting sectors. And as far as I know, some companies they offer this position for two streams, like Atlassian is very big tech company. And forgive me, I'm not quite familiar with all the company, we can't list all the company names, but we also, as far as I know, we also have some like bank systems, some financial services. They are really interested in some AI services now. And we also have some like insurance company, they mainly do some cyber security analysis. But anyway, why we have so many companies, so many sponsors, why they need software engineering or computer science? Because all these companies, they need the web page, they need the phone applications, they need some services. So this is, I guess, this is the reason why you choose the computer science or software engineering. Yeah, yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
Thanks, Dong. And I certainly feel like within the technology space, everyone has technology. Every company has technology, right? So even though we have these tiles on the screen, which are the ones that probably focus a little bit more on that technological adoption, it certainly is open to all different industry and yeah, company types there because we can't get away from technology. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to the next part of the session where we're going to start hearing from our co-ops, that's alumni and also current scholars within the program here. So we've got quite a good fill, which I'm very excited to hear all of the stories. And I'm going to pass over to our first panelist, which is Luke Tristram. Over to you.
Thanks, Sam. Good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. Nice to meet you all. As it says on the slide here, I'm actually a graduate from the very first co-op degree in 1988. The BIT course was the very first course in co-op. And I want to give you a little bit of a background on my career and then talk a little bit about how foundational my co-op and BIT experience was in that journey. So after I graduated from the University of New South Wales, I spent about a year and a half as a management consultant, but then decided to start my own company. And as it happened, I actually started that company in conjunction with several folks that I knew from university. And shortly after that, with several of my colleagues from the co-op program. So very early on in the development of my career, not only was I bringing with me the experience of the university part of that, but also the direct connections with the people within the program to help make the next step. That business was around the time when the internet was just taking off, which of course dates me quite a lot. We were interested in what happens when you digitize video. So this is back in an era when a lot of video content was still sitting on tapes and various types of analog storage mechanisms. And people were just thinking about how do you catalog it? How do you bring it online? How do you make it searchable? Of course, these are all things that are very obvious to us today. So we had a product that did that. We managed to get some early success with some companies in Australia, but very quickly we realized that there was opportunities or bigger opportunities for us overseas, particularly in the US. So we had a number of early customers that were big US media companies. And then in the late 90s, I moved to the States to basically build that business. To cut a longer story short, that business grew really well over the period of about 8 years. And in late 2006, we were acquired by Apple. And I always like to say sometimes in life, fortune just, good luck just shines on you, because it happened to be that deal closed 2 months before the iPhone first launched. And as you can imagine, the introduction of the iPhone was really the seminal moment in, well, I think technology explosion, but also obviously from Apple's perspective, a seminal moment in the development of that business. So I ended up working at Apple for a considerable number of years. I was working it out the other day. It's like almost 17 or 18 years. I took on a role essentially in the product team as a product manager. And over time, I ended up with responsibility for all of Apple's video infrastructure and applications. So that extended from the digital formats they use to the infrastructure behind the scenes to the video applications, some of which you guys are familiar with, including video and photos, the editing applications, iMovie clips, and then also the professional video stuff, Final Cut Pro, if you guys have ever used that. Decided to come back to Australia a couple of years ago for personal reasons. This will lead to Google eventually. Actually spent a year working and helping out the co-op program, and then just very recently got offered a position at Google Photos, which I was amazed and very pleased to see is developed in Australia, helping them figure out kind of the next strategy for the introduction of various types of AI technology and what that means for video and photos creation. So that's kind of my career path. My experience in co-op, I mentioned at the outset, was really foundational in all of this. Obviously, it was foundational in the sense that I met my colleagues in my early entrepreneurial experience, and that kind of kickstarted my career. It also gave me the confidence to try and do that kind of thing, to be able to take those sorts of risks at a fairly early age. And this was in an era when there was probably less entrepreneurial activity happening in Australia. The other thing I would say, which is, I think, a foundational piece of co-op, is the 18 months of industry experience were really an important part of that. So I had 6 months experience at Unilever as a big consumer company. I went to Computer Power Group, which is more of a technology training business. And then I also spent 6 months at Anderson Consulting. So that gave me a good sort of variety of experience in terms of what actually goes on in industry. It helped build my confidence. It also meant that when I hit the road from graduation, it didn't feel like I was starting from scratch. The other thing I would say that's particular to BIT, and I think it's super relevant when we start to think about where technology is moving today. The great thing from my perspective about the BIT course was the sort of the cross-functional expertise that it developed. And Christine touched on this a little bit in her introduction. So because you get a combination of, even in the BIT or the CIS course, or I should say the BIS course or the CIS course, a combination of technology and business and related subjects, it really develops the cross-functional perspective, which is how you apply technology and how you can apply technology to solve problems. And those skills and that perspective is sort of at the core of everything I've done. So from running a software company to working at Apple on some really cool products to what I'm doing now at Google, I'm really focused on how can technology be applied to deliver very specific, ultimately user benefits, and then in the broader scheme of things, business benefits around that. And having that broad perspective on both sides of what it takes to be successful in business and understanding how business works together with the technology knowledge is really important. I'm also finding, and it does touch on one of the questions that I think we'll get to later that's already in the chat, that in this world where you're seeing increasing levels of automation around the process of technology and software development. The skills that BIT brings to bear and that cross-functional perspective brings to bear is really important. So it might be that we have higher levels of automation when we're actually coding, but actually understanding what the requirements are for users, fitting it together in a way that produces business benefit, and having the judgment and experience to make that work, I think are increasingly important skills and will be in demand perhaps even more in this future that we're going into when we see AI coming into the industry and at least automating some of those development tasks. So I think it sets you up for a great career in the future, and it's been an amazing journey for me. Hopefully you heard something in that appeals, and I can't recommend the course and the co-op program highly enough. It's been absolutely foundational to my career and all the things that I've done since I've graduated.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions coming through after that. And without further ado, up to our next panelist, over to the first Josh for tonight.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks, Luke. So yeah, I'm a 2016 computer science alumni. So I I started in 2016, graduated in 2019 it was. And I think I'll give a quick overview of my time from uni and to where I am in my career now. So I think I remember in end of high school, I think, I was dabbling around in a bit of HTML web development. Found it really interesting, and that's what really got me having a look at computer science or computing as a degree. Um, Obviously, was looking around. I'm based in Sydney, so was looking at all the big players in Sydney. There's UNSW, UTS, UCIT, of course, Macquarie as well. And yeah, saw the co-op program at UNSW. Obviously, the computer science, really thought it was a fantastic program and would be really beneficial to get in. So threw my hat in the ring there, and I was very fortunate to be successful in that. And yeah, during that program, I was studying my computer science degree, and I also got opportunities to do 3 placements. And very briefly going over the placements, I was fortunate to go to first off Westpac, and there I worked on their IT platforms, and that was a really interesting experience in seeing how IT works inside a big bank. And I remember just being, it was my first professional job. I was just in awe at how many people there were to run a bank, how many different teams there were, how they all had to work together and align, and just the mammoth amount of effort involved there. So that was a huge learning, taking my conceptual, theoretical uni knowledge and applying that in an industry sense. My second placement was at ResMed. They're a medical device company that mostly do sleep apnea machines. Australian success story, actually, but quite big globally. That was a very different experience to Westpac. At this place, at ResMed, I was working on a software team that was coding the actual software for the devices. So it was very low level code, very precise, and you were kind of dealing with problems that were like, we only have 2 kilobytes of memory and we have to store all this data in there. How do we best structure the data? So it was very low level problems. And they were a very agile company, very cutting edge with their software development lifecycle and thinking and planning. So that was a fantastic experience as well, and very different to Westpac. Then I moved on to a third place, Rosetta. This one did big data. It was a small company based in Australia, had about 50 employees. Again, very unique experience. This time I'm working for a small company, so I was very easy to, I was assigned various different projects they wanted to tackle, and it was just very interesting to see how I could just grab a meeting with the CTO and get something approved instantly. Very fast paced. Didn't have to go through all the big hurdles that you would see at larger 2 companies like Westpac or ResMed. After that, I went over to finishing my degree. And at that point, I was wondering what to do for a graduate job. These experiences were really valuable because it helped me realize what aspects I liked and what I didn't quite like. And even though I did a computer science degree, I realized that I really enjoyed maybe not too much the programming, but I really enjoyed working with people. And I had a crack. It was a bit of a throw in the dark, but I had a crack at consulting, and I thought that would be really interesting. And in a consulting job, you get to work with different projects with all kinds of large clients, typically Australian-based clients, and all varying projects. So it gives you a lot of broad exposure. And I was pretty keen on going into a job where I would get that broad exposure and get to try lots of different things and meet lots of different people. So I joined PwC. That was in March 2020. That was a pretty awkward time given COVID. So I think my first 8 months was at home, which was just unfortunately the bad timing. But that was a great starting point. I worked on a lot of different projects there. At that point, I realized that I really enjoyed kind of working on this cloud computing concept. So Amazon Web Services in particular. And from there, I moved to Slalom, where I am now, been there about 5 years. And at Slalom, I was able to take a job in the cloud computing team. Slalom's about a 10,000 person company, mostly in the US. They have about 300 people in Australia, and they've been in Australia for about 4 or 5 years, so relatively new in the market. And yeah, within my current role, I get to do a lot of work on this AWS technology, which is the whole infrastructure side of computing. I think overall, about the 5 minute mark. But yeah, I thought co-op program was fantastic in being able to get a whole different range of experiences. The computer science degree itself, as Don has already mentioned, is very flexible and very versatile, and I was able to apply my learnings into all the different jobs I took. So definitely enjoyed the degree. Recommend the co-op program absolutely. But regardless of that, I think the key takeaway for me was just having a crack at things, and if opportunities come up, whether it be an internship, a placement, anything, give it a go, and you'll gain a bit of information that will help you make decisions later down the track. So I'll finish up there. Looking forward to any questions. Pass back to you, Sam.
Thanks so much, Josh. And it certainly sounds like you had a good variety of experiences leading up to where you are now, which is fantastic. And now we're going to go over to our first scholar for the night. So I'll hand over to the second Josh.
First off, yeah, thank you to all the attendees for making it tonight, and thank you to both Luke and Josh for sharing your career stories. I certainly really enjoyed hearing the pathway that co-op paved for you, and yeah, the impact it had on your career. So yeah, a bit about myself. I originally grew up in Canberra, and I moved to UNSW at the beginning of 2024. I initially started in a commerce and information systems degree, but in my first term at uni, I kind of found that the information systems courses I were taking were super interesting. I found that they were super pragmatic, and something that I've always been passionate about is being able to make change in an area. And I was able to see that technology is definitely that space where you are able to make change and are able to make an impact. So when I saw that there was an opportunity to apply for the co-op program, it was a given to give it a go. Um, and yeah, so now I'm here studying a Bachelor of Information Systems. That's a 4 year degree. First year, you just study. Second year, you do about 20 weeks at a company. Third year, you do a full year of work. So, yep, full year of work. And then your final year, you're doing honors. Yeah, something I'm really passionate about is looking at technology and understanding how it can be used to optimize different business processes, but maybe even more importantly, support people at their best in a business. So I'll start running through my placements now. My first placement was with the Arnott's Group. I was a digital transformation intern, and this was a really amazing opportunity to get thrown in the deep end. You probably wonder, how does a company like Arnott's, a biscuit company, use technology? Let me tell you, they use technology for so many different things. I was fortunate to work on a project that focused on business reporting, so looking at how technology is used to streamline that and automate that. It was a great opportunity to work with various different stakeholders across the business. I remember in my third week, my manager asked me to present a data solution to the CFO from Asia. So that was pretty crazy, but also, yeah, a really great opportunity to work with different people from finance, from procurement, to determine how we could best optimize business reporting to support them, because it was essentially the reporting that was used to draw insights and support their decision making around different business decisions. In my role, I had to gather different requirements, look at what a problem may look like with our reporting, and what do we need to do to get this solved. By gathering these requirements, I'd share those with technical teams, and I would help them craft a sort of like technical solution with to yeah optimize that reporting. I also had responsibility to conduct technical discovery. So, for example, there's a lot of different data pipelines for how this data gets into the reports, and I had responsibility to look at what sort of technology can we use to ensure those data pipelines can be connected and ensure that the data we need for these reports can reach those reports. Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. I got to kind of act as a business analyst and a little project coordinator. Overall, for my first placement, I learned a lot about how corporate works, what it's like to work for a company that uses technology to support themselves to be at their best. And that opportunity to work with so many different people was really good for improving my soft skills, learning how to effectively work with stakeholders and drive outcomes. So my second placement and where I'm currently working right now is the Reserve Bank of Australia. And I'm working as a cybersecurity intern. So the Reserve Bank of Australia has a core payment system, which is known as RITs. So every time you go out with your mates and you guys buy something and you find out that you have to send them $7 for that ice cream they bought you, that transfer is enabled by this payment system. And the reason it's able to go through instantly is because of that payment system. Um, Now, the protection of that payment system is really, really important because when that payment system goes down, you no longer can transfer that $7 to your mate. For other people, it might mean that they can't pay their mortgage on time. So the cybersecurity of that system is very, very important. And yeah, by being a cybersecurity intern at the Reserve Bank, I've got to get a really, really good outlook on that. I've worked in two different teams during my time here at the RBA, one being the cyber culture and awareness team, and one being the offensive security team. The cyber culture and awareness team very much focuses on change management and how we can mitigate human vulnerabilities. You might not know this, but most organizations, their biggest cyber threat is actually the people within their organizations not doing things correctly. So, yeah, it was a really great opportunity to look at how we can change those behaviors. I got to work on phishing campaigns. I got to design different educational material. I got to talk to different people, really all looking at how, yeah, we could mitigate that human risk and do what we needed to do as an organization, as people in an organization to keep that core payment system protected. Um, on the other end, in the offensive security team, this is where I really got to delve into a technical area, flesh out my technical skills, and also do something that I'd never done before. So yeah, what I've been doing in this team is working on a proof of concept for what's known as a cyber range. In cybersecurity, um, teams often, you've got your blue team, which are kind of like the good guys. They're the ones defending your infrastructure and your systems. And then you've got your red team, which are the bad guys. They're kind of your ethical hackers and the people who are authorized to hack by the organization to try and find vulnerabilities with the systems so that ultimately everyone can be better prepped to protect that system when an actual attack happens. So with this cyber range, I've been basically building a simulation environment that will allow red team and blue teams to kind of practice and train up without actually doing any damage to the real infrastructure of the company. And yeah, that's been a really awesome experience. It's been a really good chance to take ownership over something, but also, yeah, gain some technical depth, which I think is something I should highlight because, as you can hear, I've got to do many, many different non-technical things, but I've also got to do a lot of different technical things too, which I think kind of shows how good this degree is because it really does give you that opportunity to explore technology in a broad sense. Also, at this placement, I've met people, I've been able to talk to people about cybersecurity. I actually met a former co-op BIT who discussed their honors thesis with me, which was kind of focused on, yeah, how can we mitigate human risk and protect people when it comes to using dating apps or dating platforms. Christine, this might sound familiar to you. But and that to me, just by having a conversation with her as well, and also working in cyber, I was able to get a really good understanding of how important human risk is, and that's kind of informed me on something that I can be interested in pursuing for my honors year as well. Um, Now, where am I heading next? For the next 6 months of this year, I'm going to ING and I'm joining as a product intern, um, working with cross-functional teams in the digital and assisted channels area. This will be a really great opportunity to play a role in supporting the strategic choices behind a product. So, how can we use tech to make a product feel intuitive? What will make the experience easier for a user? What does the user actually want to see when they're using a product? But also, what is the value of adding certain features to a product? So I'm very excited for that. Yeah, to wrap things up, overall, Co-op has been a really, really great opportunity. It's given me really broad exposure to different areas of tech, but also a really great way to learn what I want to do with my career and explore how technology in different ways supports businesses in being at their best. Um, as you can see, yeah, all my experiences are really different in nature. So if you think you're passionate about technology generally and you're super keen about learning about it, I couldn't recommend this degree more enough.
Thanks, Josh. That's a very comprehensive overview. Thank you very much. And next up, we've got Demi, I think it is. Yep, Software Engineering 24.
Thanks, Sam. And thanks also to all the panelists. It's been really interesting for me to hear about what everyone's doing, especially Josh, what you've just said about cybersecurity, because as I mentioned at the end, I'm about to go into a cybersecurity role. So always cool to hear more about that. But yeah, before I start off, I also want to say that to everyone on this call, you're already a step ahead of me because I didn't even know about co-op when I was in high school. So good on you all for being here. Yeah, my journey, I'm st currently studying software engineering. I'm in the Cent 24 cohort for co-op. And why am I studying software engineering? Love coding, that's always a part of it. I think there's a lot that you can do with, just coding for the sake of problem solving, but more than that, to be able to create things with use cases for yourself or even to be able to benefit and help other people. So really the possibilities are endless, and the structure of the degree here definitely opens you up to all of those different aspects of it. Yeah, so I joined the co-op program during my second year, and I know that this evening is supposed to be more about the placements and industry experience, but just want to give a shout out to co-op for all of the other amazing experiences they provide. Career preparation workshops and a lot of networking opportunities. It's been great to meet other co-op scholars, for group projects together at uni, or just have a friendly phase around the office when you're on your placements. There might be some other co-op scholars there, which has been great. But yeah, onto the placements. So I'm currently at Atlassian and I'm actually here right now, which is pretty cool. I've been here since February and I'm on a team in the Jira organization. So that's one of the work management tools that Atlassian develops. I'm in an experimentation team, which is really cool because one of my biggest questions coming into this was, Atlassian builds a great product. It works. It's, pretty cool to use, but what more do they do? So it's been very informative being on a team that comes up with those new features, develops them, and really thinks about the user impact that they can have, especially, as a product engineering team. Yeah, so I've been able to work on two main projects while I've been here. The first was a bit more independently driven, more about learning the software development lifecycle and the process of working in really big code bases. Atlassian's a really big company. They've got a bunch of products that they work with. So learning about those processes has definitely been interesting. And also, just really going into those technical skills, front end specifically for the first project I was working on. And currently I'm working on a more collaborative project with some other members of my team. It's been really cool to work with, firstly, other developers, but also, product engineers and designers and PMs, product managers, to see kind of how all of those disciplines come together to, build a product. So that's been really cool. I've also gotten a lot more exposure to the back end side of things in a technical sense and been given, the opportunity to make some more architectural decisions or considering like efficiency and, how long things take to load and getting into that. So it's been really informative, things you don't experience so much in just like a uni project that you might be building or a personal project. But yeah, it's been super interesting being here. I will say one of the coolest things is that as part of some of the program's degree courses that you'll do as part of the Cent degree, you'll use Atlassian's products to track like your work. So it's been really cool to be able to do a project and then say, oh, hey, that's a feature that my team built, and I get to like see it in action in real life. Yeah, really interesting. So I've really loved my placement here. Everyone's been super informative, helping, with technical questions, but even it's very valuable to learn from, the more experienced engineers around you and get career advice and any kind of, information about the industry, especially in the age of AI. It's been, especially at the time that I've been here, a lot of changes. I'm sure everyone's going through some of the things in how AI affects workflows. So to be able to see both how like the product is developing with AI, but also how the development process is changing with AI, and especially getting exposure to that during uni and before I even enter my, full-time career is very valuable. So yeah, however much I am enjoying it here, it is coming to an end soon, and I will be joining NAN in their cybersecurity division. Also very excited for that. It's a completely different set of technical skills, and that's one of the great benefits of co-op is that you get so many different experiences that can be in different fields. So even if you're not sure what you want to do, or even if you are sure what you want to do and just want exposure to some different things, you definitely get that out of here. So very excited for cybersecurity, not working solely in that development space, but a bit more cross-disciplinary and collaboration between teams. And again, seeing how the cybersecurity landscape is being affected by AI as well. So yeah, once I'm done my placement at 9, as mentioned, the Seng degree ends off with a year of your honors thesis, so looking forward to doing that as well. And then not sure where I'm going with the grad role, but I know that the experiences I've had from these placements will definitely inform wherever I end up.
Thank you so much, Demi. And I can start to see a little bit of an overlapping pattern even between BIS and software engineering, the type of roles that you can go to as well, which is great. And for our final panelist, we've got Emma. Over to you.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks, Demi, as well. Yeah, so hi, everyone. My name is Emma. I'm currently a final year CIS Co-op scholar. So I guess like not too long ago, just a few years ago, I was in the exact same shoes as you guys as well. And I guess I'll get one of the big questions I had out of the way at the time of the application, which was what was the difference between BIS and CIS? To be honest, up until my interview, I really didn't know the difference between the two streams. But thankfully I figured out before then. Essentially CIS, maybe I'll start with BIS. So Josh's co-op stream, BIS, you're essentially doing your co-op under a Bachelor of Information Systems. So your degree is an Information Systems degree. Whereas, as Christine kind of mentioned earlier, for Commerce Information Systems, you're technically studying a commerce degree, but your co-op is within the Information Systems stream. And as a result, one of your majors under your commerce degree is going to be information systems. So I guess on a degree level, it's different. And I guess another benefit of my CIS degree is that I've been able to take up a second major. As UNSW does allow you to do that kind of double major under a commerce degree, but I'm happy to answer any more questions about that later on. But yeah, as mentioned before, I'm already in my final year, so I've gone through all of my 3 placements. And I think it's great to hear, like, even across all the scholars, even though we're all kind of in the technology side of things, all of our experiences have been so diverse. And again, I think that really speaks to the nature of the co-op program. But yeah, so for my first placement, I was at the DTA, and then my second placement was at EY, and then my third placement under the co-op program was at PayPal. So starting from my very first placement at the DTA, which is the Digital Transformation Agency. So this is actually a government agency, so working in the public sector. And I think for me, this was a really great first step. Because I would say generally the public sector is a little bit more chill. So I think as a first kind of full-time role, it was really nice to be able to transition into a really welcoming team that helped me kind of learn all the ropes. How do I even talk to like a senior person and kind of get all of that understanding out of the way. But in this role in particular, I was working on data analysis and reporting on the government's digital and ICT investments. So looking at where the government is actually putting their money in terms of technology investments and reporting on the progress of these investments. So are they doing well? If they're not doing well, how can they be improved? And then writing up reports for senior government stakeholders and also public-facing reports that anyone can read. So I guess in this role, I was able to use a lot of the data analysis skills that I'd already kind of begun developing during my first year of my degree. So that was super interesting. I guess another thing I also got to work on was actually improving the nature of our reporting. So not only writing reports, but figuring out how we can report better. And I think something that stands out from that experience is getting to hold different workshops with different senior stakeholders within government and understanding what do they actually need and how does that translate into requirements that we can implement for better reporting. So I think that it was a really kind of solid foundation I was able to build at the DTA. And then in my third year, I was able to start my second placement at EY. So quite different in terms of industry. I'm sure a few of you guys probably know what EY is. So it's a very large company, a big four accounting firm. They do a lot of different things, but the team I was in particular was the digital risk consulting team. And what I was doing in this team was essentially working with different banks and insurance companies to help them manage their technology risk and digital risk And I think being on kind of the regulatory side of things was quite interesting, because I think when you think of technology, your first instance probably isn't kind of like, how can we make sure we're doing everything in a compliant manner, and managing all of the risk that is associated with using technology. So getting to see it from that perspective was something that was very interesting. I think another thing that stood out is obviously being in a larger company. There were a lot more people that I could kind of reach out to and have different conversations with. And I think that for me, that was really formative in helping me understand what I enjoyed about kind of the company, the team, but also what other opportunities existed within EY and also within other industries, just by talking to so many different people who've had such diverse career trajectories. So I guess a little tip would probably be to kind of maximize the kind of relationships that you can build during your time on placement. But yeah, I guess some of the specific works I got to do were like developing risk management strategy proposals and also doing like kind of like gap analyses and risk assessments to help these really large banks understand how they can manage their technology risk. So after that placement, I rounded off my final placement at PayPal. Here I was in the enterprise integrations team working as a solutions engineer intern. Essentially what you're doing is you're just helping different merchants, which are essentially like clients that want PayPal's kind of like checkout button on their website or anything like that, and you're helping them integrate it so that it can work well for their customers, and kind of improve the entire checkout experience overall. And it was really cool, again, getting to work with different enterprise merchants. So really large companies like Woolworths and JB Hi-Fi who want PayPal's products, and getting to be in meetings with people from those companies. And in terms of my day-to-day work, I was helping to write up different documents in terms of solution design. So what is the actual integration process going to look at? I know that you guys probably all know PayPal's kind of checkout button from online shopping, but PayPal does offer a whole suite of products as well. So kind of getting to learn all of that was really interesting as well. I guess something I really enjoyed about my PayPal placement was that my team was very kind of flexible and really open to me kind of exploring what other opportunities there were within the PayPal office as well. So another thing I got to do was support the go-to-market strategy and launch process for a new PayPal product, and actually get to work with a few of the product managers at PayPal to do this. And I think that experience kind of really opened my eyes into the kind of work that I enjoy doing. So firstly at PayPal, I already learned that, the payment space is something that's quite interesting within Australia, and an industry that's actually thriving and like growing quite a lot. And secondly, product and kind of go to market side of product was also something I really enjoyed. So I'm really thankful to kind of my experiences at PayPal for kind of teaching me that and giving me the opportunity to figure that out. And so after I was able to kind of wrap up all three of my experiences, I spent my last summer at a smaller fintech company called KPay. I guess it's more of a startup scale up kind of situation. And I was able to kind of take what I've enjoyed throughout my 3 placements and apply it to an internship, where I was also working in the product team and have been able to kind of work on the launch of quite a few different payment products. And I think being in a smaller company as well, a bit different from kind of my placements, I've been able to kind of wear a lot of different hats and try a lot of different new things, which has been really great. But yeah, overall, I think my sentiment is very similar to the rest of the co-ops I've spoken tonight. But I think the co-op program is so fantastic in allowing you to try out such a diverse variety of things and really figure out what you like and what you don't like. And I think it's a very unique opportunity. So to everyone in the call tonight, I would say, like, just give it a shot and apply. If you're hesitating, just go for it. Yeah, I remember my best friend was the one who had to kind of push and encourage me to do it, and I'm really thankful to her at the time for giving me the opportunity to do so. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emma. I am aware that we're at 7 o'clock, so if anyone does have a hard stop and needs to drop off, please let me know. I know that Luke is one of them, so I'm going to invite Luke to come back and just share one piece of wisdom if the attendees from tonight's call was to take away when they're thinking about their career.
Wow, that's quite a challenge. You've really put me on the spot. There's so many pieces of wisdom I'd like to impart. I do think, and we talked a little bit about this in the introduction, as you're thinking about your career and next steps, and if the co-op program is right for you, I think understanding what you are interested in and what you think that you would get the most out of in terms of your university experience is probably the starting point, rather than trying to plot out every step in a multi-step career. the great thing about co-op and the thing that really stood me in good stead was, yes, the technical knowledge and the exposure to technology was an important part of my degree, but the connectivity with other co-op scholars, the inspiration, the experience I got out of working with them, both at university and after university, really helped me chart a career that I probably wouldn't have been able to plot out in advance. And I do think that 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 part of the co-op program is indispensable. If you have an interest in technology and you choose any of these great technology programs, one of the great things you're going to get from the co-op experience is the connection to your fellow co-op scholars. And that's going to be a really important piece of what you take from the program, because as you move forward with your career and it takes unpredictable twists and turns, I think you'll find that network absolutely invaluable in terms of figuring that out, working out what steps to take, and also, if you're lucky like me, actually working with those folks as you move forward.
Awesome. Luke. Thanks, Luke. I'll let you off the hook now if you want to continue your travels. I really appreciate your time here. So thank you. I feel like my next slide, I don't really need to go into too much detail about, because we've had so much great coverage from our amazing panelists so far. But just as a bit of a reminder, I guess, that I guess the four main sort of pillars or underpinning experiences that are a benefit with joining the co-op program is, obviously we've heard a lot about that industry experience. We've got that networking and mentoring, as Luke was just alluding to there as well, and such an ingrained support network that you have, not just from the co-op side with the staff, but your colleagues, your peers, your cohort, the years above you, the alumni. It's all just a fantastic support network from there. Embedded is leadership and professional development. So we don't just allocate you and send you out to these placements. We build the skills and the confidence, and from the technical side, but also from the soft skills side, to make sure that you're accelerating your growth into the best professional that you want to be. Otherwise, it's also a lot of friends and fun. So there's lots of fun that's had along the way, whether that's with say Co-op Soc or on our leadership camp or our workshops, collaborating on placements, having overlap with other scholars. It's a pretty fun time. So just a reminder that applications do close on the 30th of September, 2026. So I know that trials are just a blink of an eye away after the school holidays, and then it starts to get pretty intense pretty quickly. So try not to leave that application to the very last minute. And we're going to open up to the Q&A panel discussion. So the Q&A discussion from the questions that have come through, and I've seen some great ones so far. I know that Christine, you've had your eye on a question about does the CIS degree differ from a combined Bachelor of Commerce / IS degree?
Do you want me to answer that now, Sam?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, excellent. So the difference between the CIS degree and the combined BIS-CIS degree is that one of both of them are 4-year degrees, because commerce, information systems and all co-op programs are 4-year degrees. But the major difference is that the CIS, a Bachelor of Commerce degree, majoring in IS, as Emma said, you can also do another major in another discipline across the commerce area. And the combined Bachelor of Commerce IS degree is taught primarily out of Information Systems School as well as commerce. And so you get all of the technical skills that you would get out of a BIS degree, and the business skills that you would get out of a commerce degree. The major difference is, of course, that the CIS is a co-op degree. And so you get the 3 industry placements, you get all of the amazing support that Sam's been talking about. And I can't tell you how invaluable, I know that Luke just used that word, but it is an invaluable experience being a co-op scholar. So the major difference is that the Bachelor of Information Systems, Bachelor of Commerce degrees, a double degree. You do have opportunities maybe to do an internship, but it's not a scholarship degree. If there are any other questions, people can email me. I don't mind at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know that Dong's answered one of these questions in the chat beforehand, but it's come up a couple of times, so I think it's worth voicing as such. But is coding or programming experience required or assumed for any of these degrees as you're entering into UNSW and the different program streams?
Yeah, so several questions as a similar one. Yeah, if the program language Short answer, of course, no. Yeah, we have a couple of courses. This is why you come to the uni and learn such kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So you don't need to have. It's good if you have some experience on that, but you're not necessary to have it. And by the way, someone asked what's the language you should be familiar with, or what's the most useful language? Really hard to answer, but the short answer, as I mentioned, the short answer for me, a personal answer for me is C and C++, because almost all the units in the first year you're going to learn C and C++ because it's really low level. They help you understand a lot of techniques, how to manage memory. So in the future, you definitely need to familiar with a lot of programming languages. So that's a good start point. Yeah.
Oh, great. And I think Demi, you might have something to add to that from your experience too.
Yeah, just also as I mentioned in the chat over there, even if you have experience, it might be in a different language or something, the structure of the courses here, really teaches you a lot about, the progression of learning computer science, starting from fundamentals and then into more of the low level assembly, high level. So even if you have some experience, I had a bit of coding experience before starting uni, but you learn everything at uni. So and also you learn a lot through the industry placements that Co-op offers. So it's really a progression and you definitely don't need to have any experience in coding before the degree.
Oh, great, thank you. I might first off ask a thesis-based question, and then I'm going to chuck an AI question related to everyone on the panel as well. But we've got some questions around here as to how does the co-op program help in thesis A, B, C for Bachelor of Engineering Software, but also we have a thesis at the end of our BIS program as well. So maybe I might throw it to Christine if you want to kind of speak to BIS, but then also it probably expands to software engineering as well. And Dong chime in as well if you're happy.
So in the BIS degree, your final year is a thesis. Josh was talking about he was speaking with one of the alumni, Anne, and I'm sure that's Anne Pan, and Leslie was her supervisor. So Josh, I'm very happy you're already looking at your thesis and a potential topic. For me personally, I think the thesis at the end brings together everything that you've learned and gives you that opportunity to be a specialist in a particular area. So a bit of a brag here. Well, I think Luke dropped off. He had to go somewhere. Okay, but Luke was one of our first university medalists. So he shared the university medalist when he graduated with Stephen Johnston, and Steve Johnston was also one of his partners at Proximity, the company that they founded that then Apple took over. Okay. In the BIS program, the students that do honours thesis do an amazing job. Also across the CIS program, some students do an honours thesis, and we've actually been so lucky that over the last 20 years, we've had 16 university medalists. So when you guys do something, when a co-op does something, they go all the way. And a thesis allows you to be an expert in a very small area, teaches you so many skills about research that you then use in your everyday work.
And just for those on the call that might not know, but what does receiving a medal mean?
Okay, so receiving a university medal means that, and it's not given out every year, and it's not given out unless somebody has an amazing honours thesis, which means that the final product that you produce, which is a thesis, and we're now looking more to the thesis that's like a journal paper or a conference paper. And so last year we had 6 of our scholars actually attend the Australasian Conference of Information Systems in Brisbane and present their work. And one of the students, Amy, won an award on the best short paper. And the people who gave her that award actually had no idea that she was still a student. So she was actually competing with academics. So you get the university medal, you have to have amazing grades throughout, which co-ops do, you really do. So amazing grades, I'm saying roughly 85 or more average across your 4 years. Now, most of you probably go, I can't do that, but you can. The co-ops do it, okay? And then your thesis also has to be above 85, so generally 90 and more. So it's no mean feat to get the university medal, and it's an actual medal, and it's amazing. But you all do amazing jobs. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. There's certainly a strong performance coming through. And case in point, we also had the university medalist for the software engineering thesis coming from the
Cool.
co-op program as
Yeah.
well for last year.
Yeah.
So I think in
Yeah.
summary, that kind of just shows how much of the co-op experience that's embedded throughout your program ends up delivering those high quality outputs at the end there as well. Thank you. And just apologies from Dong. He's had to drop off to attend to some other business. And I'm going to throw a bit of a general question out there because I think it's a part of everyone's world. It certainly is a part of my world every day. And I might start off with you, Josh, if you want to take a stab at this first. But how is AI disrupting the technology workplace? I know we've got a lot of concerns where it comes around job security and how it's impacting that. But how is it evolving, I guess, the technological world and the job prospects and what day-to-day jobs look like?
This is me, Josh. Yes.
Yes, sorry, I just realized there was two. Yes, please.
That's all right. That's it. Yeah, I see a lot of AI chats, questions in the chat. How is it? Yeah, I guess how is it actually? What's actually like in the workplace? Um, it's everyone has an opinion on it. Everyone has a different thesis on it. And then other people tell those opinion. Everyone's using everyone else's opinions on a basis. It's quite it's very mixed. It's definitely a tool that's being used. Um, we have people that use AI to assist them in various aspects, whether it's summarizing content or writing code or any of the fast functions it can do. Um, so is it causing mass layoffs right now? Um, I'm not seeing that exactly. I know there have been big company announcements, and I know there's a lot of concern about jobs. But a lot of the layoffs that you may have seen in the media may have been occurring otherwise, and AI might be the wrapper they put around it to quell the shareholders. But yeah, we're not in a phase right now where we have clients that are like, oh yeah, we want to cut half the workforce or anything like that. I'm not seeing any of that. I think it's a big enabler, and people will build on top of AI, but I think you're always going to have people in those roles. So I think roles might change, but they will change slowly over time. AI is accelerating very fast and developing very fast, but there'll always be a small subset of companies that take it on really quickly, the frontier ones. And then the vast majority of companies will come in behind much slower. Most companies are regulated. We have companies today that are still picking up some of the cloud computing stuff that's been around 20 years because they've just been working towards it. So I don't think we're going to see sudden unemployment out of nowhere. I think the landscape will definitely change. You're still going to need people, at least from my perspective, in computing and software, absolutely 100%, because the AI will only get you so far at this stage. So yes, but very exciting time nonetheless. And my recommendation, if you're worried about AI, I definitely recommend getting acquainted with AI, try and use AI, play with a few different tools, because it is rapidly moving. So if you're just keeping across how it works, I think it will look very good for employers or prospective employers to be able to go in there and say, oh, I've used tools A, B, C, and these are my opinions on it, and you have a bit of knowledge. But yeah, that's my 2 cents in a very crowded world of thoughts and opinions. Thanks, Sam.
And it certainly is a very crowded world with opinions of AI at the moment. I might call upon our scholars. So you're at the forefront and learning it within your placements, at that junior rank. So maybe do you want to speak to some of the experience that you've had of companies using AI and maybe how it's transforming roles or the impact it's having? But yeah, either Emma, Josh, or Demi.
Yeah, I'm happy to have a crack. I guess for me and across all the placements I've done, also in my current workplace, I would say that AI is generally looked upon quite favorably in terms of it being a tool that they want employees to be using. And I think like, yeah, what Josh said before, but understanding how AI can be an enabler and how you can apply it to your day to day is something that I think will be really important for kind of anyone entering into the workforce for the foreseeable future. But I think for me, the two ways I try to think about how I can use AI best in my day to day is how I can use it as a way to kind of extend myself. So my capabilities as a CIS scholar, maybe my technical knowledge is not as great, but I have some technical knowledge, but AI has allowed me to kind of extend myself, be able to do things like vibe code in my current role without having really strong kind of taken proper courses on coding. And then the second way I would say is to be able to save time. So doing repetitive tasks, things that can be automated or that I can more easily get done through AI. So I think those are kind of the two perspectives I try to think about it in my day to day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to build on to what Emma just said, it's really important to look at AI as not something that like will replace you, because the reality is there's a lot of media hype around it, but it's not quite at that stage where it's completely like replacing people in an industry. But yeah, so look at AI as something that can improve how you contribute value. There are so many things that I'm able to do faster and quicker at work now because of AI. And ultimately, it's helped me. Yeah, it's enabled me, as both Emma and Josh said, enabled me to be better at what I do. But it hasn't gotten to that extent where it can like replace what I do. It's really like valuable to look at it as a tool you can use to improve yourself. But at this point, it is growing rapidly, but there's always got to be people who know how to use it. There's always got to be people who are going to manage how it's used. Even from like a cyber point of view, there are so many risks when it comes to AI. There are always going to be jobs around managing that sort of thing as well. I like to look at it like the Industrial Revolution that happened, but it didn't necessarily mean that there were no more jobs left in the world. AI is kind of like the same thing. And I think if you're in tech generally, you will see that the jobs will grow, and alongside that, you will grow too.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I always have these kind of conversations, and I'm like, your AI transformation, I guess, and impact it's having was my Google. I was born a little bit earlier than what Google was born, and we certainly had those kind of concerns as well as to how it was going to change the workforce. And it didn't change that dramatically. It just transformed the way that we did our jobs and transformed some of the roles as well. So thank you. Demi or Christine, anything further to add?
I think everyone said some, really valuable points and exactly how I feel about it. I think the only thing I would add is that originally I was quite opposed to it. It's kind of like, why is this thing coming along and disrupting, the way I want to code and the way I've planned on doing it? But, as has been mentioned, it really does work to help you. And, there's some things that are a bit repetitive and boring, and that's a great thing to get AI to do. So learning how to work with it and not against it has been really important.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. Well, I am conscious of time and keen to wrap things up as well, but it was just such great conversations and questions. I had to let it go on for a little bit longer. So maybe if
Sam,
I
all
might
I want
just,
to say
yeah,
is
go.
we've got a lot of courses.
Yeah.
That we're developing a lot of courses in AI and getting people to be more comfortable with it. That's all. Because we all have to embrace it. It's here and that's it. But UNSW in particular are at the forefront of developing courses for students. So
Yeah, absolutely. I've even seen some prompt engineering degrees starting to come out from various different
yep,
universities as well. So it is just a space that's growing and growing. So thank you.
yep.
So to leave the call before I head off to a thank you slide and point us in the direction of some more resources that our attendees can go to, if I could maybe just ask each of the panelists if you have just like a quick golden nugget of wisdom that you want to leave our attendees, whether it's about deciding their career, deciding their degree, getting some inspiration, trialing out things, whatever you feel like is going to be the best piece of advice from your own experience. Emma?
I would say that a piece of advice I'd give my younger self would probably be to just do it scared. I think as someone who's a bit of an overthinker, I'm always trying to consider all my options. Sometimes it's better to just go for it and then see how it goes. Oftentimes it's also less scary than what you initially anticipated. So yeah, that'd probably be my piece of advice.
Great. Thanks, Emma.
I can give another 2 cents here. My piece of advice, I got someone at Westpac mentioned it, one of the execs there or something when I was my placement. He was like, don't don't chase the money, do what you enjoy, and then the money will follow, which I think is very important advice, particularly when you graduate uni or you're in uni and you're looking for jobs. Um, yeah, there are a lot of jobs out there that may pay well that you might hate for whatever reason. Better to do something you enjoy and you'll naturally just progress much further. So I found that a really useful piece.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Second, Josh?
So Christine said to me the other day that through the co-op program, you get to learn a lot about what you do enjoy, but maybe even more importantly, you get to learn a lot about what you don't enjoy. And
Yeah.
I think my biggest piece of advice is just to remain open-minded. Trying things out is the best way to learn. It's the best way to discover, yeah, what you do want to do, what you may not want to do. But the only way that you're going to discover that is if you really do give things a go. So always stay open-minded and yeah, just have a crack at things.
Thanks, Josh. And last but not least, Emmy.
Josh kind of stole my answer there. I was just gonna say, don't don't say no to anything. Any opportunity that's presented to you, if you think it's gonna be too hard, or if you think you can't do it, if you think you're not gonna like it, those things all might not be true, and you'll only know once you've given something a try. So, and seek out those opportunities too. Might not always be handed to you.
Thank you. So some very, very exciting and fantastic insights from our panelists. So I want to give them all a big, big thank you for the time that they've taken out of their day to share that. And then I'll just finish off with just a formality, I guess, and just pointing us in the direction of where you can continue to be curious and answer those questions that you have. So we've got a QR code that's on the screen there, and if you scan that with your phone, then it'll take you to our Linktree account with a bunch of useful links there. One of them being our digital brochure, taking you to our website. We've also got an Instagram channel as well, so you can see all the wonderful things that our co-op scholars get up to on placement or extracurricular activities, our leadership development, professional development, all of the good stuff. That's all wrapped up in there, along with some application tips as well. So it's worth a good follow. We've also got our YouTube account that you can go to and where these videos will be uploaded to. And don't worry, we'll be sending you a direct email once that's ready to go with those quick access links. And we will be going through all the questions that we received today in conjunction with the other sessions and try to answer as many as we can in a follow-up FAQ document along with that as well. So also just a shout out, we do have some other events that are coming up, co-op chats to learn more about the co-op program, the application process and technical nuances that come with that process. That is going to be happening in August and September. So watch out for our Eventbrite, but we will also send you all a notification if you registered your application for it. So just a huge, huge thank you, both for those that are attending, showing and demonstrating your curiosity, and also to our fantastic panelists. So thank you very much, everyone.